Hey y'all, welcome to Faith in Politics. I'm going live everywhere. So let's see what's happening. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to in Politics with me, Eileen. We are popping up live everywhere. I see I am live on TikTok. Good afternoon, TikTok. I said it right today. Good afternoon, Twitter, X. How are you? Good afternoon, IG. How are you? And good afternoon, YouTube. How are you? We are live visually in all of those places. We are live. You can hear us over the air on iHeart, on Apple, on Amazon Music, everywhere you stream, you can find us. So make sure you go subscribe everywhere you podcast so you can find us and catch up if you've missed anything. I always give people just a chance to hop on. I give you some kind of general information. Today, we're going to be talking about my book, y'all. I'm so excited. I probably say that at every show, but I really am excited because this was truly a labor of love. Y'all, I wrote a book. I don't even believe I wrote a book, but I did. It was definitely divinely inspired, and it's really necessary, honestly. Uh, I grew up in the city of New Orleans, and I grew up in a very political family. So there are a lot of things that, just kind of, just for lack of a better word, came naturally to me because it just was, because that's how I grew up. I grew up under boardroom tables with like my pillow and my blanket. I'm not kidding. My dad was an elected official, and he was very involved in Bold, the political organization that kind of like ran uptown at the time when the ABCs of politics, the letters and the soups were very influential in the city. They had Bold Uptown, which was the Black Organization for Leadership Development. There was, Coup, there was Progressive, there was Soul, and there were all of these like ABCs of politics. And so I grew up with all of these gentlemen and ladies being like my aunts and my uncles. Like my uncle Jim was one of the first elected councilmen in 1978. I was born in 1978, so I grew up literally, his campaign, and then I was born. And so politics it just is what it is. And that's how I grew up. And I grew up at the time when, politicians were public servants. That's what I saw. We went and knocked on doors. We went in the community. We helped feed people. We helped, it was a different reality. So seeing how politics is today really kind of doesn't settle well with me. And I remember when New Orleans was a family of neighborhoods. We were, neighborhoods that cared for each other, and we just don't have enough of that. And so I wanted to write a book to empower people and give them the information. As social media manager of the city of New Orleans, when I built that department, I really got to see how much information the residents had and how much information the residents thought that they had. And honestly, there is a disconnect in what residents know and what residents think they know. And there truly is a disconnect between what residents receive from uh, the media and from our elected officials at times. They give you a very glossy version of what's going on, and a lot of times we don't receive the full truth. And so therefore, I wanted to give you the information and the facts so that they're at your fingertips, and that you can do with them what you will, and you can empower yourself and your family and the youth around you so that New Orleans can grow, and we can be a stronger community together, and we can speak up when it's time to speak up, and you can fall back when it's time to fall back. But either way, you have the information at your fingertips so that we can create a stronger community together. So that's what Faith in Politics is all about. So I really kind of want to just jump into the book and give you a little about what's in it, because guess what? The book is free. The ebook is free. I want to say that multiple times throughout the broadcast. The ebook is free, 100% free through Friday, March 14th. So you can go online on Amazon and you can receive the book 100% free. I wanted to make it free for the first week because I want everybody who wants to get it to get it. So if you can't, you don't have the little funds right now. I know eggs are a lot. I want to make sure everyone can get the book if they want the book. So you can go to any of the links on any of my social media. They're in all of my social media bios. It says free book, free ebook. So go get the free ebook, share it with your family and friends, share it with the youth and your family. It's really a book that is it's easy for anyone to read. It is a lot of facts. It's a lot of information. It breaks down the city per our city charter. I don't even know if some of you knew that. Did you know that New Orleans has its own Bill of Rights? Well, New Orleans has its own Bill of Rights, and it's in the book. And so we should know what our rights are in the city of New Orleans, and we should know what our rights are, period, so that we know how to navigate and we know how to stand up for ourselves, because a lot of us aren't standing up for ourselves. We're living in the okey doke. To be perfectly honest, I didn't know part of it, that we were living so much in the okey doke, until I kind of got blown out of town after Hurricane Ida. I was working in the city for 3 years. I got blown out of town after Ida. We had some damage on the back of the house, so they were working on the house. So we ended up having my son's senior year out of town. And at first it was very difficult, but honestly, it ended up being one of the blessings of my life and his. If you, I recently posted about this young lady in New Orleans who said, she experienced the same thing during Hurricane Katrina. That when she was in high school, and when she went out of town, it was actually Georgia. It was the same state of Georgia. And she found out that she was behind. She found out that she was on a ninth grade level when they were on when their seniors were graduating, and she was not going to be able to graduate. So she had to, navigate it a little bit differently. But I will say it worked out for my son. We were there, and honestly, in New Orleans, he had a very easy schedule, and he had some half days his senior years per his New Orleans schedule. When we moved or got shipped out of town via Ida, we found out that they didn't allow those half schedules. You had to be in class and do what you needed to do. And so they looked at his schedule, and they gave him a lot of classes that he honestly needed, and he needed to just get his mind right for college. He needed to be well prepared, and that's what Georgia did for him. They prepared him very well for college, to the point where he got scholarships and offers. And I 100% do not believe that would have happened for us if we had not gotten shipped away for Ida. And being away, I got to see the differences between New Orleans and another municipality. And so, having come from working in the city of New Orleans, like intimately, I was in communications. I built a social media department, so I knew a lot. And to see y'all, it was this one day, it tripped me out. We were on our way home, and they were busting up a street to repave. And so I was like, okay, let's watch this process. Y'all, when I tell you, the next day when we woke up, that street was paved, I was like, nah, can't be possible. How did they do this? Because in New Orleans, it takes forever for a street to be fixed. Like, this is not possible. And I know we have other, situations with the, sediment and things in New Orleans, but why do our processes take so long? That's number one. And number two, why do our residents accept it? Well, what I found to be perfectly true is, like, New Orleans is in, for a while, is in my opinion, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth, an abusive relationship. And you just kind of accept things because you think that's the way it is, because that's all you see around you. And a lot of people don't get out of the city for extended periods of time. We may go visit or go on vacation or do things like that. You may notice some things, but you don't live somewhere else for extended period of times for an extended period of time. And so that's what I was able to do for those months while my son graduated high school. And it just became evident to me that New Orleans and our people are getting the okie doke. And I don't like getting the okie doke. That's one thing New Orleans people don't like. We don't like being played. And so when I came back, I was encouraged, divinely, to speak out during the recall. And that's exactly what I did, because I felt like New Orleans was being played. And I don't like being played, and I know New Orleanians don't like being played. So I wanted to give you the information. But as in any, abusive relationship, sometimes when you give the information at first, people are like, oh, I don't want that. And then, they start seeing a little bit of what you were talking about. And so I believe that is what's kind of going on in New Orleans, and people are at the point where they can see what's going on, because it's really affecting our everyday lives. And I'm just going to be honest, you cannot believe the words coming out of City Hall, of the administration. You cannot take their press releases at face value. They concoct something, and they slather it to make it look good, to take the medicine and let it for us to swallow it and go down. But it's not always very truthful. It is very manipulating. And like I said, I'm tired of being played. And I think New Orleanians are tired of being played and we want something new. So, that's what I do. I speak a lot of truth. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't fall under the Democratic Party and I don't fall underneath the Republican Party. I am an independent. And so I say things that might aggravate, either side, but it is what it is. And I'm going to speak the truth, and I'm not manipulative about it. I'm going to give you the facts, and I want you to move forward and do what you need to do so you can take care of your families with the truth. You can do what you need to do with the truth. And so that's really why I wanted to create faith in politics. Being in the information business and communications for the city of New Orleans for 3 years. And actually, if y'all don't know, I was on the radio at WBOK for 4 years. I had a show there called The Good Life, where I like to inform people. If you think the meeting is starting at 6:15 and I know the meeting starts at 6, then you're already late. And that's where we find ourselves. New Orleanians are already late. They do not have the information and they're getting the okie doke. So I want to put everybody on, level ground and give you the information, whether you've gotten this information in school or you've gotten this information in college, or if you haven't gotten this information at all. Everybody will be on the same level playing field. So what I did was I compiled information for the city per the city charter. So if you didn't know, New Orleans has a city charter, and that's how we were created. And so it tells you what the duties of everyone is supposed to be. So it breaks down the duties of the mayor. This is what the mayor is supposed to do. This is what the mayor is responsible for. It breaks down the duties of the city council. This is what the city council does, and this is what they're supposed to do. Our judicial branch, this is what the judicial branch does, and this is how it's supposed to work. And if you don't know, the judicial system is actually under the state of Louisiana more than the city charter, which is explained in the book. And so we really need to understand our 3 levels of government and how they work and who does what. So when we have issues and when we have concerns or solutions or whatever it may be, we can direct those questions and concerns and solutions to the right place. So in faith and politics, let me I'm going to really, I'm pulling it up on my computer really quickly, and I'm going to go to the table of content so I can kind of run through some of what everything is about. So if you didn't get it, you can. And if you didn't know that my dad was Ken Carter, it's in there. I did the book in memoriam to him. I really kind of give a history of his life. It was like a little bit of his life, kind of his obit mixed together, just so you could understand where I came from. My dad and his family are from the Callio Project. And that's just, how they grew up. And then they eventually moved to the corner of First and Galvez, right across the street from St. Monica's. So I grew up in St. Monica's Catholic Church, and those are my people. I played softball with everybody, and, that's just where I grew up. And so with that being the case, my dad was also the first elected assessor and the Black assessor in the state of Louisiana. And so in doing that, he had to go up against a family dynasty in the city of New Orleans, the Comiskey's. If y'all know, there's a Comiskey Park it's Norman C. Francis Boulevard now, but Comiskey Park. My dad went up against a family dynasty, the Comiskey's, and he won. And so when, through my dad's life and his campaigns, he was an elected official for 8 years. One of his campaigns, he won by, I think it was like 31 or 33 votes. Like, he won a campaign by 33 votes. So you can't tell me that voting doesn't matter and it doesn't count. And so this is how I grew up, and this is what I saw growing up. So I felt it was really important to put some history about my father and what he did, so you can understand, why I do what I do and how I grew up, because that's not only what I've seen. That's just one part. I'm just going to give you one more. My father was one of the attorneys that went up against the tobacco companies. They said no one could go up against the tobacco companies. You can't do that. That'll never work, but guess what? They won. So, and he started that, y'all, he started that case. I'm not kidding. My dad actually ran for mayor, y'all. Funny story. My dad actually ran for mayor in 1994. He was the front runner, and then late in the game, Mark Morial jumped in the race and qualified on that last Friday, and Mark won, and we all know the end of the story. But all of our families have all been friends, and kind of worked or politically worked together throughout the years. So, and then all the girls went to Ursuline. So shout out to Ursuline for that. But it's really important for y'all to kind of know that background. So after my dad lost for mayor, I believe it was the next day or 2 days after that, his friends came to him that he had worked with previously, and they asked him, "Ken, would you like to, partner with us and go up against the tobacco companies?" And at first he was like, "Nah, nah, I'm not doing that. I am not here for this." And then, they touched his heartstring because my grandmother died from cancer from smoking. And so, they tugged on his heart and brought that to the table. And then he acquiesced it, and he walked in it, and they won. He started that case when I was a sophomore in high school, so I was 16, and they finished that case when I was 29. So that is 13 years of working on one case because he wanted to help people. So he took on a Goliath because he wanted to help people, and he has instilled that to me in me. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what it is. If you're not doing right by people, then I'm going to say something, and it is what it is. That's how he raised me, and I never give up. That has been our family motto. I even got it tattooed. I mean, I don't know if it's upside down there, but I got it tattooed on myself when my father passed away. So it's something I live by. I don't give up, and I will always speak up for people when, even if no one else does, I will do it by myself if necessary. And so that's really why I wrote the book. I wanted to make sure everybody got equal information, and so that's what it's all about. So I'm going to jump into so that's a little background of why, I'm compelled to do certain things. I just remember when our elected officials were public servants, and I believe that they aren't doing what they need to do. And I'll put that in the nicest way possible. So in the book, part one is understanding New Orleans government. And so it breaks down the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branches. And it goes literally per the charter. It says, this is what the mayor is supposed to do. This is what this council is supposed to do. This is what the judicial is supposed to do. And with that being said, if you didn't know, under the executive branch are every department in the city of New Orleans. Every department is under the mayor. And not just the departments, there are side offices that are under the mayor, like the Office of Neighborhood Engagement, the Office of Homeland and Security, the Office of Gun Violence and what else? Let's see, the Office of Cultural Economy. There are offices underneath the mayor's office that are not departments. The departments are like stated in the charter. Your offices have been created. So your mayor is over all of these things, as well as your boards and commissions. Your mayor decides and chooses and appoints who are on these boards. Now, the city council usually approves of these people, but the mayor is over all of these things. So I break down all of those, and I literally list every department and every office that the mayor is responsible for, and every board and commission. And I tell you how the people are chosen for the board and commissions, and who chooses them, and how they're approved. So all of that information is there. The next part would be civic engagement and elections. I go through a history of civic engagement in the city of New Orleans because we need to know where we came from and like where we're going. So in the book, I offer a history of the last 75 years of civic engagement in the city of New Orleans. And it goes through the ups and downs of, racial inequities and all of that. So you will get that history as well as where we are now, because we have seen some of the lowest percentages of our residents engaging in our civic process. And as you can see, I believe personally that it's doing a disservice to our city. And honestly, during the recall, I understood why a lot of people have come to this position, and it's because our elected officials don't listen. They don't respond to us. And once they're in office, at least the ones that are currently there, once they are in office, they forget about us. And so, yes, we have an executive branch, and the mayor is responsible for all those things, but we do have checks and balances. We have a legislative branch. Now, our legislative branch is our city council, and our city council is like over our utility regulation, and they create laws. The mayor enforces laws. The city council creates laws, and they hold the purse strings of all of the departments. The departments that are under the mayor, yes, they hold the purse strings. They are also tapped with uh, responding to residents. But here's the okey doke there. They respond to residents, then they take the information and they go to the department. They say, hey, ABC resident has a problem in this department. Yet, who's over that department? The mayor. So, if the mayor and the council aren't getting together or aren't on the same page, do you think that that resident's issue is being taken care of? Well, as you can see in the past so many years in the city of New Orleans, that has been the case. I know firsthand, and it has been stated that the mayor and certain city council members have literally not met in years. So, how do you think the business of the city is happening? Your guess is as good as mine. Lots of things behind the scenes are not being said, and it's time that they are said, and it's time that uh, people remember that we have the power and we start to use it. And so, with that being said, the city council also has oversight, which is the biggest part. So, with them having oversight, they can call these departments to task and call them in front of them to ask questions. My personal opinion is that the city council has not been doing enough oversight to hold the mayor accountable. Now, I also believe the reason they have not been doing that is because the mayor is retaliatory and she fights back and does very harsh and mean things to people. And so they're just kind of trying to ta her until she gets out of office. But while they're ta-taing her, the residents are not having our basic needs met. And as you saw, there was a group of residents or, business leaders who just said yesterday, hey, we need all of this stuff to happen in New Orleans and we're going to create a new plan. And I appreciate their plan as each and every one of us, or we appreciate your plan, but bring it to the mayor. Bring your plan to the mayor. She's the one that can fix things. Bring the information to the mayor, but they're not bringing the information to the mayor. Why? Because the mayor retaliates. And this isn't a new conversation. This isn't something that hasn't been said. We said this in 2022 during the recall. What year are we in? 2025. So everybody knows because we said it. People were retaliated against during the recall to the point where people moved out of the city and out of the state. I know some of you did not know that, but that is 100% the truth. They had Black businesses that got closed and shut down. Where was the community to support these businesses for saying, hey, we need some more attention because basic things aren't being taken care of. The laws aren't being executed that are harming our business. What is the problem with saying that and getting some solutions for your community? Well, we're not allowed to do and say that in New Orleans because our mayor and our administration will retaliate against you. Shocking, right? Shouldn't be, because that shouldn't be the case, but it is the case. And so there was recently a report on the news regarding safety and permits, and I wanted to do a round of applause for the residents who stood up and said, "Hey, we don't say anything because we get retaliated against." There was even voice recordings, which I think probably made it a lot easier for the residents to speak up from the Department of Safety and Permits saying, hey, oh, such and such happened with this. So I'm going to put their stuff on the side and they can wait for months. What? Because you didn't like somebody, you put their permitting on hold, affecting their bottom line? Well, if you didn't know, a lot, our permitting and safety, our safety and permits department, they have some permitting that is backdated since August of 2024. Imagine if you were trying to build something or start your business in the city of New Orleans and your permitting has been sitting there since August because somebody in the city of New Orleans doesn't like you. Well, that's happening to a lot of people in our city. A lot. And business leaders don't want to even speak up because they won't get a permit. During the recall, I'm not going to say where it was, but we had just popped up, we did our pop-ups to get signatures. We popped up on a corner and they had a business that came up and said, can you please move to the other end of the street? And we were like, well, what's up? And they came out and told us, they said privately, we're asking because we're waiting on our permitting and we don't want the mayor to think that we're supporting this because we can't afford to have our permits be delayed any longer. Are you kidding me? Yes, very true. So this is what's going on in the city of New Orleans, and this is why we need to speak up, because this is just one example of many. People don't speak up because they're retaliated against, and I don't care. I don't care. Everybody puts on their pants the same way, 1 foot at a time. God is not a respecter of person. We are all, uh, deserving of respect. And if you decide to be an elected official, then you should serve the residents. The city of New Orleans should be empowered by the people. We put you there to execute our will, not yours. And so I've just found that a lot of our elected officials have been empowering their will and not the will of the people. And that's a problem for me. And so I wanted to empower the people with information so you can say, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're not doing this. Let's get back on track. It's not about pulling anybody out of their position. It's about making sure we all stay on track so our needs can get met. I mean, like basic, like, can we have lights? Can we have lights? Like, can we have our lines painted on the street so people know? Like, these are basic things. And like, how, just to be real, this is one that aggravates me, how our community has been treated over under the Claiborne Bridge annoys me to no end. Because personally, what I would like to see under there is like a mini French market for New Orleans residents. Why don't we have something for us? We go to work, everybody does what they need to do all day long, and we can't even live and enjoy our own community. Well, who are we doing it for? Tourists? The business community exclusively? Who are we working for? Who are we doing this for? And so I just don't feel like we're being heard and our needs are being at the forefront. You know, the administration can go on every flight across the world to do some climate change. And I'm not saying climate change isn't important, but, you know, I'd rather you go sit down at a convention regarding youth activities and participation and how to grow that in the community. You know, if that's what she was going to, hey, 10 times we would pay for that trip, but I'm overpaying for the 15th trip to go to Hong Kong to fight climate change, and nothing's happening in the city of New Orleans. So I don't know where you like your tax dollars being spent, but personally, I would prefer them to be spent on our children, the future. And that's just where I am with that. And so with that, in part two of the book, I discuss civic engagement, and I give information on the civic engagement measures in the city and how we can get more involved. I also give information on the elections and the processes and how elections are delivered in the city and the state. I do have a little part called Lanyap. Actually, I gave that information a couple days ago in one of my posts, but I'm going to give it again because it's one of my favorites. When I was working for the city, I created this link. It's NOLA.gov/apps. I'm one of those people, like, I just love information. I love to give it to people. And so NOLA.gov/apps gives an assortment of information on all of the applications that the city of New Orleans has. That's one of the things that I learned, is that the city of New Orleans IT department, shout out to Kim LeGroux, is off the chain. But the crazy part is, without the communications department delivering the information, y'all don't know it exists. And it's awful. There's so many things that are at our fingertips and people don't know it exists. Here's an example. Did you know that the New Orleans Library has an app? Yeah, there's an app for that. You can literally have books mailed to your house, and you can put them in the mailbox for the mailman to pick up, and you can get movies and all kinds of stuff online. I remember during COVID, because I knew that it existed, my son was, it was some math or whatever he was doing. It was like seventh grade, and I was like, "Oop, don't know how to do that new math." And so he called the information line on the New Orleans Public Library system, and they literally walked him through it. And so there are tools that you can use for your family in the city of New Orleans that will be helpful today, that are available, that they don't talk about and they don't share. And so I want to do it, and I wanted to make sure people got the information and share it. So that's what I did. And so also in the Lanyap section, I put the Office of Inspector General's information, because if there's something going on in New Orleans, you need to see something, you say something. And there's a lot of times where you feel like you're going to have that retaliation or that backlash. And so I offer you that. If there's something going on in the city of New Orleans, and you know that we're getting the okie doke, you can reach out to the Office of Inspector General. You can go online and you can give the information anonymously. Yes, anonymously. So if there's something that you want to share, and you know that there's something going on in a department that shouldn't be going on, let the city know. We can't do anything if we don't create some change. And that's how we're going to create change, by helping each other. So next, page 39. Well, is the Bill of Rights. Did you all know that New Orleans have a Bill of Rights? Well, we do, and you should read it, and it's in the book. What else is in the book? The executive branch suspension and removals. It tells you how our executive branch officials can be suspended or removed from office. Our legislative branch, it also explains that the suspension, salaries, and removal. So it explains how they can be removed from office. And then the next one was section was recalling elected officials. So all of you know, I did the recall for the city of New Orleans with Belden, and so as I did it as a co-chair, Belden was the chair, and you can see the process that we had to go through. And if you didn't know that there's a process to remove people from office if they're doing us a disservice, there is. So you can read exactly what it is. And personally, it is very outdated. I believe that it should be technologically updated. There's no way that you should have to get 50,000 some signatures by hand across the city this day and age. We are in AI. There is no way that we should be doing that. They should have, in my opinion, they should have you should be able to go to the registrar's office as an option, and you should have days where you can go in and hit yes or no or whatever you want to do, and then they can be allocated. And it's not even something that we have to count. It should be updated, and because elected officials created that process because they never want anyone to be taken out of office. Peep game. So that's why the recall process is the way it is, because they don't want anyone to ever be taken from office. Why would you choose to create a way for you to be removed from office? That's kind of how they feel, and that's what they've done. So we're getting the okie doke there. The next section is I break down the state versus local government and all of the levels. Now, this was really important because after talking to a lot of New Orleanians, I found out that a lot of people thought the governor was the mayor's boss. And I'm like, hold up, the governor's not the mayor's boss. That would be like saying the president is the governor's boss, which isn't true at all. Everybody has their own lane and their specific duties. And so with that being said, I broke it down. So I have one, state versus local. So this is what the state's supposed to do. This is what the local is supposed to do. Then I have another section broken down with federal versus state versus local. So you can see what each level of government is supposed to do compared to the other. And so if you wanted to just jump to those sections, I literally kind of repeated them so that you can see who does what and where and who's responsible for what. And so I just really felt that was important because you can navigate better. Because let's just say you have issues with your Social Security information, or someone in your family is having issues with their Social Security. Well, you're not going to your local government for that. You're not going to your state government for that. You need to go to your federal representative. So you would go to, in my district would be Representative Troy Carter, my cousin, but you would go to that district for that. And so that's where you would go. And if you had a state issue, if you had, let's say you were on SNAP, or some type of program like that, or you had something with child support or something like that, you would go on the state level. If you had an issue with your sewage and water board bill, the mayor is the head of sewage and water board. So therefore, you would go to the local level. Or if you had issues needing safety and permits for your building, or there was blight next door, then you would go to the mayor. So you need to understand the different level of government so you know who does what and where to go. So this book will give you all of that information. And then, y'all, this was like one of my favorite little chapters to write. It's called Link Up. So I did a list of online resource links. I'm in that field. So everything that I could think of that you would need, all of the offices in the city of New Orleans, all of the departments, all of, agencies around the city. I put a chapter together where they have all of the links. So if you need some information, you can find it easily because you can go in the book and say, oh, I need this. Oh, there's a link for that. Housing. Oh, there's Hano. I need a link for that. This is where I find it. So there's a link for everything that, in my opinion, that you could possibly think of in the book. The next one was public record requests. Did you know you can request information from the city of New Orleans and they're required to give it to you, but not just the city of New Orleans. This is available on the state and the federal levels as well. So what I did was I explained how to get a public records request through your local government and through your state government. And so if you wanted some information, all of our podcasters out there and anybody else, just regular residents, if you wanted some information about what was going on and you wanted the truth, if you were like, hey, that's how the reporters get the information and you have the same ability to do it too. So I wanted you to know that you did. And so last but not least, I broke down how to do business. If some of you didn't know, I have a small business background. I worked at it was then the LAMSDC. It's now the Southern Regional, but they handled the MBEC the MBE certification, which is your Minority Business Enterprise uh, certification, which allows your businesses to do business on the corporate level. So when I did that, I learned a lot about the process. But the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana also have those processes too. So the city of New Orleans process is the DBE process, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. And so with that, when businesses want to do business with the city of New Orleans, the city may require them to have a certain percentage, 35% of business with people who are in the DBE program. And so if they can't find anybody in the DBE program, they say, oh, we had a good faith effort, and they sign this sheet and then they don't do it. Well, a lot of people have done that to kind of bypass it, but that's the okey doke. So we need to make sure that people understand the DBE process and they get involved. And actually, there's a way which some people don't know, because I had been in that arena for a little while, that you can get your certification with the state and it have reciprocity with the city. So you only have to do it one time. So there's a trick in that. So if you get it with the state, with region 2, there's 2 regions in the state. So if you do it in the state and you get it under region 2, which includes New Orleans, then you only have to do it once. So that is the trick, and you will get reciprocity in New Orleans. And then you will have the DB status in the state of Louisiana and the city of New Orleans. So all of these things are important, especially if you are a small business owner and you are trying to do business with either the city of New Orleans or the state of Louisiana, or actually the federal government. I have sections on each, how to do business on the local, state, and federal levels. And then last but not least, I do biography acknowledgments. And then I did about the author. I gave a little bit of background about myself and what I did at the city. So you would just have a little bit more of an understanding of who I am and why I do what I do and why I feel this information is so important. So, with that being said, that's what Faith in Politics, the book, is all about. It is free right now. Yes, I said the book is free. Well, the ebook, let me be clarity. I like clarity. The ebook is free right now on Amazon. Go check it out. It is in links. Download it, share it, send it to your family and friends. Give it to all of the youth in your family, because our youth really need to be inspired. Growing up in politics, I was so excited to vote for my very first time and to get in that booth and be able to push the button. And, as my child grew up, I always brought him in, to push the button. And now he's voting. And I'm just, it's a family thing for us, voting. When you grow up in politics, it kind of is what it is. Voting is like a big thing. And so I just really feel like we need to have a culture of voting if we want to change anything. And like I said, if you didn't know, my father won an election by 30 some votes. So voting matters. And I've always felt very compelled by that, and to encourage others to do so. So if you're not registered to vote and you need to register to vote, or you need to update your information, or if I'm independent, y'all. Also, in the last couple of years, I changed from the Democratic Party to independent. So I went online at sos.la.gov and I did it right in my house. And so if you have a valid ID, whether it be a state ID or a driver's license, then you can update your information right there online at sos.la.gov. So I encourage you to do that. If your voting location has changed, you can find out all of that information as well. Or if you need to update your address, and a lot of people need to update their address. And as you know, we have elections coming up. Early voting is coming up starting this weekend. And so we want to make sure that you have your information correct in the system and that you are counted correctly. We had these problems come up during the recall, and we found out that we have a numerous amount of people who are on the rolls who do not live in the city of New Orleans. They have moved away, and we were concerned as why, after 10 years after you move away, are you still a registered voter, able to, swing an election in the city of New Orleans? And as you know, some elections only, have thousands of people, or are swung by 150, 200 votes. And like, what was that? The district D election last time was swung by a couple hundred votes. And so it's important, because literally you can have people who live out of town vote absentee and swing an election up. And so we don't want that. We want to make sure that our rolls are clean, and that our rolls that they show who lives here, and who has the ability to vote here. And now we know it is a process, but that process needs to be updated. And so if you didn't know, we are getting a new register of voters. A registrar of voters. She has retired, and so they are in the process now of choosing a new one. And so our city council is choosing a new register of voters right now. So if you are interested in the process, please call or email your elected official. Let them know what you think. I believe in Big Easy, they did a breakdown of everyone who was running for the office or had put their name in. I really encourage you to go look at those people and don't just stop at that article. I believe they put like a little blurb, but really go look at who is running, and don't just always go for who your favorite politician is supporting. I encourage everyone to educate yourselves, empower yourselves. I truly say that because I come from a background in communications, and what you all receive is not always the truth. You cannot depend on regular media for your news solely. Yes, you can look at the news or whatever, but perfectly honest, I read my news. I do not just sit there and watch one of the channels and I'm like, that's my information for the day. I can't, because they're going to give you top level information and it's not going to trickle down. And a lot of times the information is given from one view or another. For instance, while working for the city of New Orleans, if we needed a positive news cycle, we could create that. And residents don't think about those things, but we do. And that's really how the administration works. If she's going through stuff, they will create a positive news cycle for her because she holds the trump cards, because they can meet and give information to who they want to. And they do just that. There are certain reporters, and there are certain people who write articles in NOLA.com and the Advocate and things like that, who and Louisiana, what the Tribune and those things. There are people who put plant pieces to sway New Orleans voters. They 100% do it. I 100% have seen it with my own two eyes. And they also do plant pieces to take out people and to make people look bad. And so with that being said, I offer you to look with your spiritual eyes. I don't know where you are in that, but use your discernment. Don't go for the okie doke. That's one thing about New Orleanians. We do not like being played. And I just offer you that. We have been played and we have to be honest about it, accept it, and move forward. What are we going to do? We got played. Okay, so now what are we going to do? And just like I said at the beginning, unfortunately, it feels like, that abuses or that relationship you can't get out of for some people. They have that love and they're like, oh, but she's a Black woman. All skin folk aren't kinfolk. That's number one for me. And number two, with regard to certain things in the city, I'm like, there are multiple Black women who do things. Which Black women do you choose to support? So you can't just say it's a Black woman thing, because I just believe that's the okie doke. And it comes down to which one are you going to support? And so if you're not going to support all Black women, then you can't hang on that. You just can't hang on that. Because if you're not going to support all Black women, then you can't hang on picking and choosing because that's your favorite, even because they go to the bar room with you. But are they taking care of the kids in the city? Are they taking care of the children? Are they making sure that our needs are met? Are they making sure that our children are in the school system, that they're being taken care of? And y'all know what I'm talking about. And yes, people are like, but the school system did what? Yes, they did. But let's get past that point. Let's take care of the kids financially. Let's take that off of the board, and then we can go hold everyone accountable, because there is room for everybody. And it's funny how people will like to hold this group of people responsible, but they won't hold this person responsible who has the most power in the entire city. And so with that, I say, let's hold everyone accountable, so it's not a pick and choose. Let's just hold everyone accountable to take care of the needs of the city of New Orleans. Why? Because that's what they were elected to do. I just think it's simple. If you were elected to do a job, I think that you should do it. And I don't see what's wrong with saying that. And if anyone has a problem with that, well, then they're going to have a lot of problem with me, because that's what I do. I speak truth to power because we need it. And I'm just over our community getting the okie doke. I love y'all. And so that's why I put this book together, to just empower you with information so you can speak up in your sphere of influence, whether it's in finance, housing, homelessness, education, whether it's in workforce development. When is the last time we heard anything about workforce development in the city of New Orleans? When is the last time we heard about economic development in the city of New Orleans? When was the last time you heard about a big company coming to New Orleans because we have gone out and we have, suited them, and they've connected to the community and all of those things. I don't know, but I'm wondering when it's going to happen. I want to see trade schools grow in New Orleans. Everyone isn't meant for college, and college isn't meant for everyone. Where are the trade schools? Where are those things? I remember growing up in my community, my grandfather was an auto mechanic, and that's how he took care of the entire family. He actually helped create one of the first bus services in the city of New Orleans around his area to help move, our folk, because our folk weren't allowed on the buses. So that's who I come from. I come from people who are visionaries. I come from people who, when they see a problem, they're not afraid to speak up and say something. And so, that's what Faith in Politics is all about. It's empowering you to speak up in your sphere of influence and to create change. If not for the entire city, maybe it's just for you and your neighborhood. And that's wonderful, because if we all do something, then we can create change. And so that's what Faith in Politics is all about. So I encourage you to go download it. It is 100% free. The ebook is free. Did I say it? The ebook is free. Go click the links in all of my social bios and get the book. Download it, share it with your family and friends. If you want to purchase it in paperback, you are more than welcome to do that. I had a friend who, I just want to shout him out. Thank you. He bought the book and he took a picture of it this morning. He's out of state. And I was just like, oh my gosh, my book is out of state. And so it did bring tears to my eyes, because this was definitely a labor of love for the residents, because I really do love y'all. And I love New Orleans, born and raised here, and we just deserve better. I'm from uptown. I'm out of Harrell. We were there for a gazillion of years. I was in the concession stand for 3 years. I love to feed the kids and just be like one of the teen moms. And so maybe that has rolled over to being that type of maternal thing for the city. And it really did, because as social media manager, that's how I felt. I wanted to give y'all information that you didn't have. And so with that being said, again, I encourage you to all go download the book. And if you didn't know, I do podcasts every Tuesday at 12 at noon. And so if you want to receive the blast, you can. And you can do that by texting JOIN and your email to 504-399-4380. That is text JOIN, the word JOIN, and your email to 504-399-4380. Text JOIN and your email to 504-399-4380. That will engage you with our process. I send an email once a week. People got 2 this week because I did send out one for the book. So you did get 2 this week. And I also signed you up for Solution Saturdays. Well, let me go through our week, what we do. So on Tuesdays, I send out a blast about what we're talking about and what's going on. And then at noon, we have our podcast. You'll see me live on certain platforms, and you can always go back and listen on everywhere that you podcast. I'm on Apple. So if you have your Apple Music, y'all go into podcasts and you can find me right there. Faith in Politics Today. I'm on YouTube, Faith in Politics Today. I'm on iHeart, Faith in Politics. I'm on y'all everywhere you podcast, really. It's about 8 different spots. But my home spot is on Podbean. So if you have that app, you can find me there as well. So I'm pretty much everywhere you podcast, even Amazon Music, Google, y'all. I'm everywhere you podcast. So please go subscribe and hit that. And so you can be notified when the next episode drops. This is episode 25. And so if you've missed some, you can definitely catch up. We have the political podcast started episode 20. So if you did not know, I do walk with the Lord. I am in the fivefold. And so episode 1 through 19 are going to be prophecies and words that the Lord gave me. So if you want to delve into New Orleans prophecies and what the Lord has been giving me for the last about 4 years, you can go there. The majority of my prophecies are, if you follow me on any platforms, I just tell you what the Lord tells me. I don't have an opinion. This is what the Lord told me, and this is what it is. And so you can get the information there. Like I said, episodes 20 through 25 now, because we're in episode 25, are exclusively politics. I do drop in a little words that the Lord gives me from there, but these are more really politically directed and breaks down some of the information that you will also find in the book. So please go follow me and subscribe so you can. We don't want you to miss anything. We want this to We want to really engage people and encourage you. So if you get your information by video, here I am. If you get your information by podcast, then here I am. You can get me there. And if you get your information by reading, I created a book. If you get it, online reading, then you can get the ebook for free. It's really, I tried to put the information at your fingertips to make it easy. And so that's what this is all about. And so if you wanted to reach out to me, if you have questions, concerns, you want to partner with me, sponsorships, I have some people reaching out for certain different things. I'm going to be growing in different ways. I'm just really excited about that. So you can email me at Faith in Politics Today. It's just like the handle, Faith in Politics Today at gmail.com. faithinpoliticstoday@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Email me. Some people don't want to DM or post something directly on the page, and I totally understand that. So email me. I respond, and I call back. Some people get surprised because I'm like, hey, let's talk. Call me. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, let's chat. I want to hear what you have to say because I feel like it's important. One of the greatest things I did was that recall and listening to people for 7 months. New Orleanians deserve better, and I'm going to offer you that information. So with that being said, I just want to thank you again for tuning in. This is Faith in Politics with me, Eileen. And again, if you are not registered to vote, please make sure you register to vote. You can go online at sos.la.gov. That is sos.la.gov. The Faith in Politics book is free right now online. Make sure you go do it. It is free until Friday, March 14th. So go download it and share it. I'm just so proud of, actually, I should say pleased. I'm so pleased with finishing. It was a work, it was a labor of love. And honestly, there was so much warfare to finish that I knew it was necessary that I finished and I got this out to each and every one of you. So stay blessed. I love y'all. And let's go. Let's speak up for our community. Bye, y'all. Bye, y'all. Bye, y'all. So let's see what's happening. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Faith in Politics with me, Eileen. We're live everywhere. I am live